so let's, oh my god, that is the most unflattering. Okay, so let's talk about relationship dynamics. So when we're in the presence of somebody who we believe, some part of us believes that they are going to be a really good fit for our partner, processes switch on and processes switch off. And I believe the part of us that switches on is the primal desire part, right? It's like the part of us that can see us having babies with this person, wants to be around them all of the time. And then the part of us that switches off is our more logical side of thinking, is our ability to assess whether or not this person is going to be a good fit for us in the long term. And so when we're in the process of dating, of exploring, that's why it can be so helpful to have that spaciousness, right? And go back into yourself, because the part of us that thinks like, oh my god, this person could be my partner, ooh, I can feel this desire to have like babies with them, and that part can be a projection of like this fantasy that this person is going to be our everything. And the logical part of us that can really tune in and assess whether or not this person is actually safe, is actually a good fit, long-term compatible, doesn't really have space. It's like the neurochemicals in the body, just this biological switch kind of flips on. And we can get ourselves in situations where we are getting caught up in this tumultuous relationship dynamic when we don't have the space, right? So this is why giving ourselves space, meaning like space to reground back into ourselves when we are dating, because that allows us to tune back in with our logical side, right? Which is our masculine side. It's our inner masculine. And I see this oftentimes when we don't have an integrated inner masculine, it's so much easier to attach and project on to a masculine counterpart that wants to protect our feminine, right? Because the role of the masculine is to protect and hold and contain the feminine. It is like the banks of the river, and the water is the feminine. But the feminine needs the masculine, and the masculine actually needs the feminine as well. And so when we don't have this integrated masculine, right, we can more easily attach to a person outside of us that we think, oh my god, they are going to protect my feminine, they're going to give me everything, they're going to hold me and nourish me and love me. And then alternatively, right, if we have not integrated our feminine, then we can be stuck in dynamics of like mother wound, right? Like reaching for people or things outside of us that like gives us this like really nurturing presence. And so the more we can pause and take time and feel like there's no rush, right? Like the Hermit card in tarot, it's such a beautiful card because it's like moments to go back into ourselves and reground and come back into center, so that you're not like stuck in either the logical or this like biological primal force. And so how do you integrate the masculine? How do you integrate a healthy inner masculine so that you are not projecting outward and trying to find this masculine savior, this like knight on the white horse? You first have to actually honor the masculine and learn to honor it. I know for myself, I grew up in a very like feminist era that was like, fuck men, fuck the patriarchy, men are the problem, and there's been this distance from my own inner masculine. And we need to separate like patriarchy from masculine, right? Masculine is simply an energy that we all have. Like nature has masculine and feminine dynamics. It's not a gendered experience per se. So honoring the masculine, right? Like honoring structure, honoring our boundaries, right? Boundaries are like a masculine kind of energy. Being very enmeshed and codependent is like this fleeky feminine energy without this masculine holding. And so starting to incorporate like an honoring practice of honoring yourself, honoring your time, honoring where you're going to say yes and where you're going to say no.
In 600 feet, turn right.
And honoring structures that support you. For me, right, my right side, well, for most people, their right side is masculine, left is the feminine. So somatic practices that can be really helpful for this are like using self-touch, using your right hand, and letting your feminine feel the sense of being held by this masculine container.
Turn right onto 9th Street, then turn left onto Arapahoe Avenue.
Feeling your feminine being held by this masculine container. And then and then you can also have this dance, right? Do these somatic practices where you're allowing your feminine to then feel safe with your masculine. And your feminine in worship of the masculine, and doing practices that really honor the masculine, lighting a candle, having a candle that represents the masculine, lighting it and honoring it, blessing it, thank you for being here in my life. And the more that you can integrate your own inner masculine, the less you are going to project onto partners, onto people that you meet as a savior. And the more that you can integrate your feminine, integrate this fluidity, right? Because a lot of us too,
turn left onto Arapahoe Avenue.
Because a lot of us too have this over-expression of the masculine, but it's not integrated, right? So what I'm talking about is not just like doing all the work, doing all the like structure to the nth degree. No, it's like that can be an unintegrated masculine, which is, I don't like the word toxic, but that's more the patriarchal.
Continue on Arapahoe Avenue for 1.5 miles.
That's more like the patriarchal programming. I mean, to do all those things to stay safe. And so it's integrating our masculine, honoring it, blessing it, like loving it, letting your feminine like worship the masculine. And then integrating your feminine, right? Where you're integrating, you're looking at the shadow parts of the feminine, which is this like jealousy, competition, and that can come up in the dating realm as well. And that can be part of why you want to attach so strongly to this man or this person that is embodying what you think is going to be like your saving grace, right? This is all so subconscious. This is also like biological. And the more that we can bring consciousness to it, right, then we're not going to be trapped in that cycle anymore. But it's integrating the feminine to recognize like, okay, I'm not actually in competition with other women here. I don't need to attach so strongly to this person. Like I get to actually be in ease and flow and trust. And then that ricochets back into our masculine, into honoring our inner masculine. And when we can honor our inner masculine, we honor our inner feminine. And then she feels more safe, she feels more trusting, she feels like she's got a bedrock to rest into, which is our spine, which is our own structure, right? The structural integration of our system. And this is how we can come back into our center and not get so attached and flying from this way to the next way when we're dating, when we're out in the world, and when we're really wanting to call in a partner, a person, like support. It doesn't necessarily need to be a partner, but like any type of energy that you think you need outside of yourself to become whole. And when you come back into your center, you're coming from this place of desire versus need, right? Because it's okay to want a partner. It's okay to want a coach, to want clients, to want structure in our business, to want like things outside of us to like support us, right? Because we're interdependent beings. We're not here on this planet just in this isolated existence that we don't need anybody else or need anything else. So what we can do is honor those desires, and when we come back into ourselves and have our own integrated masculine, integrated feminine, right, it gets to be from that place of desire versus need versus projection versus like abandoning all logic to go with what feels really good, or abandoning what feels good to just go with what feels like super logical, right? Then we get on this path where we get to be heart-led, and then we're also seeing results and seeing like impact of being heart-led, because we're still in the world, we're still among these tangible things. Like we still need money, we still need a place to live, right? We're not living in nature and community yet, right? That's almost all of our desires. But yeah, like we're still in this culture. And so how do we become integrated to have the results that we want in this culture, but also do it in a way that feels really good? And this is how we can do that, is really integrating these energetics through these practices and through this knowing, right? Just through this witnessing alone can be super powerful into just noticing where we are saying fuck you to the masculine, and how that's maybe making our inner feminine feel more unsafe, and we don't honor our own inner masculine, and so she's looking elsewhere for the savior, right? And how integrating it can be really powerful in our lives. And so just noticing.
In 1,000 feet, turn right.
That's always the first practice, is just noticing, and then getting to do the more feminine practices of that honoring, of that worship.
Turn right onto US 36 East, 28th Street.
And tuning into our desires, like what are the feminine desires, and then building that masculine structure to hold them. And taking time with yourself to integrate these pieces, to hold yourself, that you have distance. And that's the transmission for today.